Welcome, everyone. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the third episode of the Hammerfist MMA Podcast. As before, I am your host, Tyler. So once again, welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. It has been, I hate to say, it's been a couple of weeks since the last episode. So we've been averaging a couple weeks between episodes here. I'd love to up that a little bit, kind of keep things moving, but unfortunately, the ways of life and work and everything else is quite busy. And plus, I got to spend all my weekends watching MMA, which is a ton of fun, and I love it. So, hey, it's all good. But that being said, thanks again for tuning in, guys. Love to see a few new subscribers and things. Obviously, we're not pulling some giant numbers or anything like that, but I definitely thank everyone very much for liking the videos and subscribing. I'd love to see more of it, of course. So I ask you, if you're enjoying it and you'd love to keep up with us and see new things, hit that subscribe button, guys. It's not about pulling the huge numbers, any kind of thing like that. Like I always say, it's just about, it's a hobby for me. It's a huge passion of mine. Becoming such a big fan of MMA over the past couple years. And I just love to get connected with other people who share that passion so we can talk about the fights, stuff we'd love to have seen, stuff that we can't wait to see, stuff that we wish we could see, all that good stuff. So, yeah, guys, hit that subscribe button. Come check us out. I'm going to keep trying to, up the rate of the podcast a little bit, keep it moving as well. We do have the blog continuing to run, guys. I always like to put out, fun little stuff about some predictions, recapping events, talking about, a big thing like rumored fights and stuff popping up, exciting stuff, really exciting stuff that we hope will come to be if we are so lucky. That is at hammerfist-mma.com. Come check us out, guys. We got finally the legit non-little free. We got the actual good domain rolling, which is awesome. I love it. So yeah, come check us out, man. Love to see you there. So all that fun stuff out of the way. There's been a ton of stuff going on over these past couple of weeks, guys, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about here today in the world of MMA. We got some Bellator events going on. Literally, there's one going on right now. I'm going to miss out on it just so we can get together and put this third episode together, guys. Hey. So that's going on tonight. We're going to talk about that. There was actually another Bellator event last night. Bit of controversy in that one, but that's kind of what we'll talk about on that. Of course, then tomorrow, because for some people, Monday is President's Day here in the U.S. That is going to be a holiday for some people. Unfortunately, not myself. I do have to work, so it might be a bit of a late night tomorrow, but oh well, it happens. Usually UFC events do not take place on Sundays, but maybe once, maybe twice a year they do kind of end up falling that way, more so on like holiday weekends and stuff, 4th of July, all that kind of stuff. So usually happens once or twice a year. But anyway, that is our case this weekend. So that one will be going on tomorrow, UFC Fight Night, ESPN, on ESPN #1. Francis Ngannou taking on Cain Velasquez at heavyweight in the main event. And definitely some super exciting fights filling out that card, guys. So we're going to go through that. We're going to go through the main card. I'll make a few great predictions. And I am going to give you my dark horse pick for an undercard fight of the night potential. There's definitely a few in there. But it was hard to pick just one, but I think there's one in particular that's going to be an awesome fight for an undercard fight. So let's get right into it, guys. We are going to start. We are going to start on Bellator with our recent and current goings on. And actually, I did not see last night's event. I was out at a little event with some friends from work. So I did not get to see it myself, but I did catch some highlights. And the big piece I want to talk about is the unfortunate kind of controversial main event. It was looking to be a pretty exciting fight. Matt Mitrione is back fighting against Sergey Karatanov, a very exciting heavyweight fight, fighter in Bellator. That was our main event last night, guys. Now, essentially and unfortunately, what happened, I hate to say I was trying to put a little clip together so I could kind of show it off here. Unfortunately, didn't really have an easy way to do it. So more of that to come, hopefully, in future episodes. Unfortunately, not the case here, but unfortunately, it lasted all of 15 seconds. Fight started. Matt Mitrione threw a very hard left kick, and unfortunately, it drilled Sergey right in the jewels, buddy, right in the cup. Took the low blow. Mitrione immediately, apologizing. Hey, it was an accident. Kind of obvious. It was more accidental, obviously not on purpose. Karatanov kind of drew back, held himself in pain, and went down to the floor. And it's, I would say, a super rare thing to see, really, where low blows and that kind of stuff. It does happen, just the nature of the sport. 9 times out of 10, it's accidental, as was the case here. And he just could not continue. Now, obviously, they do wear cups and everything, but that's the thing people don't always understand. When you're watching, you're like, I could take a punch, whatever. But these guys are professional athletes. This is what they do. Just imagining, an NFL running back just driving through you and just smashing you to the ground. That's kind of a good metaphor for this, as far as, the stuff they are throwing, these kicks and punches. This stuff is not, it's not a breeze of wind. It's a very serious and very tough, very hard, very painful thing. Now, even wearing a cup, unfortunately, Karatanov, it just hit him so hard and in such a way where he got hit in that spot, which, as any man can tell, if you've been hit in that area at any time before, even just barely, you pretty much just want to kneel over and grimace in pain. So, luckily for Mitrione, it was just declared a no contest. I mean, I guess in theory he could have been disqualified, but I think the idea was, being accidental, no contest. Lasted all of 15 seconds into round 1. Definitely a good candidate of something you would end up seeing a second fight being made, a rematch. Very well even could just be the next fight that they make. So we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, if you didn't get that news, or you hadn't seen the highlights, definitely check it out. You can hit the Bellator MMA YouTube channel. They've got a nice little 3-4 minute recap video of the event. Recommend you check it out. So on to our next event. That is actually, it has since started. It started, I think, about 10 minutes ago. It's about 7:41 Eastern Time, 7:41 p.m. Eastern Time here right now. Once I get through with this, hopefully I'll be able to catch some of the fight. Some of the fights. So this is Bellator 216. I just want to start off with, hey, Bellator obviously is, less common as far as UFC being the #1 promotion in MMA. So a lot of people are curious, well, how exactly do I watch? So this is definitely one thing I really love about Bellator, and I think has always been awesome. The prelims they have available to play directly from the Bellator website. So you can go to Bellator.com. They've got a little video player on there, and the undercard, most of the time, literally you can play just right from the website. I gotta tell you the truth, the last time I went to do it, it showed as if it loaded, and it just never worked. So had a little trouble watching some Bellator events lately for that reason, and I don't have a subscription to DAZN anymore. I have certainly used up my free trial, but the prelims, that's how you can watch the prelims, right there on Bellator.com. Or if you have a subscription to DAZN, you can catch it on there, $9.99 a month. Has basically Bellator events, as well as other things, other combat sports, other good stuff like that, boxing, whatever else. So tonight's event, Bellator 216, this is Michael Venom Page versus Paul Simtex Daly in the main event. MVP versus Daly. The prelims, like I said, you can check out right now on Bellator.com via their free player. And then the main card is going to start at 10 p.m. Eastern, and that is going to be exclusively on DAZN. Forgot to put this up, but yeah, just wanted to pop it up here. We will run through the main card fights of this event here real quick. And it is going to start off at women's flyweight. Valerie Loretta versus Colby Fletcher. Now, I've got to be 100% honest with you here, guys. When it comes to Bellator, I am much less versed in the, who the fighters are, all that kind of stuff. For UFC, most people, even some of the less-known guys I've seen fight, several times over the years, so I've become accustomed to who certain people are. But in Bellator, full disclosure, less so. I've seen less of it in my time of watching MMA, but before I go into it, I do like to just put in a little bit of research and get some ideas together. So Valerie Loretta, 20-year-old lady fighting out of American Top Team in Coconut Creek. This is actually going to be her pro debut, so she doesn't have a record as of currently, but just from what I've seen, she seemed to be a little hyped up, and coming out of American Top Team, definitely one of the premier MMA academies out there here in the country. So hopefully she'll put on a show. Her opponent, Colby Fletcher, I think she's got a 1-2 pro record. Didn't really know much about her either, but it seems this might be a nice little striking match. So I hope it's exciting. I'm kind of looking forward to it. All else aside, I'll tell you this, guys. Business perspective when it comes to women's MMA, let's just be real about it. Obviously, the fan base is probably a large majority male viewers. So when it comes to women's MMA, anytime you've got a pretty lady in there and you slot that fight in, on the main card like this, for example, hey, pretty ladies means male viewers' eyes on the event. And I think that's a little bit the case here. I mean, this lady, it is her pro debut, and this is a pretty decent little main card for a Bellator event, and she just so happens to be on that card, that main card, in her pro debut. So, big opportunity for her, but that being said, definitely a pretty lady, so I think that may have played into it just a little bit, if I'm being honest. So, our next fight here, Yaroslav Amosov. I've got to say again, I'm not too familiar with the guy. This is a welterweight fight against the former UFC fighter Eric Silva. Eric Silva, he came into the UFC. He was actually built up and, if I can recall correctly, hyped up pretty good. I don't remember if he had a losing streak or whatever the case was. He ended up getting cut. Now he's over at Bellator. If I do recall, the way he was hyped up, unfortunately just didn't work out. It was, as they say, a hype train that derailed a little bit. Nevertheless, the guy is a pretty good fighter. And I think tonight he may take the win here. That's another one I'd be excited to see. I'm going to see if I can find a way to, just use another email or something and get another DAZN free trial and check this one out. But yeah, just to that note, guys, it's just like ESPN Plus. DAZN is. If you've not signed up before, you are definitely capable of getting a free trial. So anytime a fun and exciting card like this one here comes up and you don't have a subscription, go in there, get your free trial, and enjoy it. So definitely recommend that. And I think that's just DAZN.com, and DAZN is D-A-Z-N, as you can see in the little note up here. Definitely check it out. Our next fight, another pretty well-known guy, Czech Congo, and Vitaly Minakov. Now, I've heard Vitaly before, but man, I hate to keep saying this. I'm not horribly familiar with the guy. I am, of course, somewhat familiar with Czech Congo, though. So this is another exciting one here. These are definitely some heavy hitters. So yeah, I'd love to see a nice, big, brutal knockout there, guys. I think Chet Congo can take it. Definitely more of a veteran status guy. Here for our co-main, this is another veteran battle, and actually I'd definitely be pretty excited for this. Mirko Cro Cop. I think everybody gets excited to watch Mirko fight, man. He's a great fighter. Hell, his legacy goes back to Pride days and everything. You know, reminiscent of the man, the legend himself, Fedor Emelianenko. So, always excited to see that. And then we've got one of the guys, I just love this guy, honestly, Roy Nelson. Roy, Big Country Nelson. He's got the big old, you know, burger belly and everything. You know, as sad as it sounds, probably one of the most unathletic physiques I think I've ever seen. But, hey, the guy is good. He's a knockout artist. He puts on the heat. Obviously, used to fight in the UFC. He's on the Ultimate Fighter, all that kind of stuff. And hell, he's just awesome. He's just awesome, man. I love him. I love his whole thing. You know, I love to see the guy. He talks about he loves burgers and whatever else, and you know he knows his big old Buddha belly and his physique and everything is not exactly what you'd expect in a professional MMA fighter. But he goes in there and puts in work. You know, it's kind of like a big old 350-pound offensive lineman. You wouldn't think those dudes can run and do athletic moves, but they sure as hell can. When you see them take off, you're like, dang, you know, whew, guy's a freaking beast. And that's how it is for Roy Nelson, man. Now, he is fighting somewhat of a legend in Mirko Cro Cop, who's got some big wins under his belt, but I'm going to be hopeful that Big Country is going to take this one away with a big old knockout, a big old left hook. That's what I'm thinking. And that's what I hope we'll get, guys. That's a nice one. Like I said, man, big fan of Big Country. Hey, love it. Now, for our main event, this is an exciting fight as far as Bellator is concerned, and a good main event. We got MVP Michael Venom Page. This is going to be a British grudge match, if you will, taking on Paul Simtex Daly. Had to think about it a little bit, that nickname, Simtex. Like, where have I heard that before? And it's like an explosive. So as a nickname, it makes sense. It sounds kind of goofy, but it makes sense, you know. For a fighter, Simtex, explosive, you know, boom, 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 you know, whatever. Paul Daly, of course, a lot of people who are kind of some older UFC fans kind of may know him. And this is at welterweight, by the way. Unfortunately for Paul Daly, he was, this was way back in the day. It was several years ago. I can't really recall when, but he was fighting Josh Koscheck. Koscheck was beating the brakes off him. I think it was actually after the fight. Yeah, after the end of the third round, Paul Daly just came out a little unprofessional, pulled off the little sucker punch at the end. And yeah, it was real stupid, but he knows it, and he did it. And UFC President Dana White, he was disgraced to see that nonsense, saying, hey, these are professionals, you can't do crap like that. Paul Daly, you know, you're gone, you're out. I don't care if you fight in 1,000 other promotions and you're the best pound for pound, #1 guy that everybody says is a beast. You don't do shit like that, you know, you're gone, out. So he's gone. And basically that, he's been to all kinds of other promotions, Bellator, left Bellator for the first time, went somewhere else, and now he is back in Bellator. But this is going to be a big one for welterweight division in Bellator. I think the winner of this basically will be fighting Douglas Lima in the welterweight Grand Prix. So this one I think is going to be a big, heavy striking match, definitely a banger, and definitely looking forward to it. So, like I said, guys, got to find a way to get that free trial going. Definitely looking forward to it. Alrighty, so moving right along here, let's pull up our next thing. We are getting over to the UFC, and guys, we are talking rumors. if there's one thing I love to see and hear about, as far as MMA news is concerned, if you will, and MMA reporting, it's the rumored fights and seeing those fights unfold and come together before our eyes. So, big deal here in the UFC lightweight division. Let's lay the background just a little bit. So, oh my gosh. Sorry about that, guys. We got a cat in here that's just shedding like crazy, and I think it's got the fan on, is blowing hair all over the place. It feels like it's all stuck in my face and nose and everything. Anyway, a little bit of background to this. So, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Conor McGregor, the whole UFC 229, post-fight scuffle and brawl and all that garbage, all that nonsense, kicks off. Freaking months go by. Finally, the Nevada State Athletic Commission has a hearing, decides, you're fined this amount, you're suspended for this amount of time, so on and so forth. So apart from Khabib and Conor, there's other folks that were involved and received suspensions. 2 of those were teammates of Khabib, and they actually got 1-year suspensions, longer than even both Khabib or Conor. So Khabib basically said, hey, I'm about loyalty. These are my guys. They were doing this for me, so I'm sticking by them. He basically said, I don't care about my suspension until my teammates are back eligible. That's when I'm going to be eligible. And in fact, he's actually eyeing the MSG card in November of 2019. So, all that being said, a lot of rumors are swirling about, he'll be gone for a year at least. What are we going to do about the division? What's going to happen? Because there's some great fights to be made. The whole top 5 of the UFC lightweight division is like, a lot of what they say about top 5s generally murderer's row. Tough guys, huge competitors, just amazing fighters, all of them on, great win streaks and holding great wins. So people say, hey, what's going to happen with the division? We're going to keep this thing moving, man. We're going to see people fight for the belt. We want to see top 5 fights. What's going on? So this was being questioned a good bit surrounding UFC 234 just recently about what's going to happen. So Dana White basically says, with all the stuff Khabib's saying, if that's true, we might just have to see what happens. We might have to explore some other options. And this is just as of the past couple days. I first heard about it or saw it on the either UFC or MMA subreddit. Somebody had posted a screenshot of the Wikipedia page for UFC 236. Now, me personally, I don't really get a lot of my information from UFC events on Wikipedia, so I don't really know who was looking there for information, but anyway, some guy posted it on there and said, hey, has anybody heard of this? Is there any truth to this? And basically what it says was, as you can see right up here, it is alleged that UFC 236, that current featherweight champion Max Blessed Holloway will fight Tony El Cucuy Ferguson, the #1 UFC lightweight contender, for an interim lightweight title at UFC 236. So this could very well easily be the work of some Wikipedia idiot troll just messing around with people. I mean, it definitely happens. You can go to a lot of UFC fighters' Wikipedia page and see somebody has edited their nickname to something retarded, or somebody has a loss on their record by loss via the fans for a boring ass fight, weird troll garbage like that. So this very well could be. But my take on it is, it very well may have started that way, but as you can see here, so this screenshot is basically Max Holloway posted a little screenshot on Instagram and then, captioned it with the Tony Ferguson, the type of guy, to little meme. And my take on it is, hey, maybe this wasn't really set up or anything, but what's happening here, this is exactly what's happening, is on its own, just by Max Holloway sharing it, a lot of people may think that brings some form of truth to it. My thought is it's not that it's necessarily any truth to it, but this is basically a way that well-known fighters with good followings, a large amount of people and fans, can start to put the word out there, and this is actually how they can even campaign for a fight, in my eyes. So by Max Holloway doing this, he's kind of even putting it out there to say, you know, maybe he agrees and thinks, hey, this is a good idea, I like this, this is exciting. This is going to be exciting for the fans. And when it's exciting for the fans, and if you're main eventing on a pay-per-view, that means pay-per-view points. So this is a business, you know, this is a business decision to do this. Basically through this, he could, if there's not any truth to it currently, he could definitely be pursuing this in this exact method. When you've got fans on board, that alleges that the people who are on board are people who are going to put money into paying for this event to watch it, to see. Maybe they even only care about this one fight, but they're still paying the price of a pay-per-view. And from a business perspective, when it makes money, a lot of money, it makes more sense than some shit that doesn't make as much money, obviously. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't feel like it's necessarily something that's been, you know, truthfully set up or explored very far. But with everything else going on, this is kind of how it seems. To me, it seems to be Max Holloway sees this as an excellent opportunity for both a very exciting fight and a good business decision to get on board with this and say, hey, I'm down, let's do this thing. And when you start to get these guys that are champs and, you know, near champ, high-ranking contenders to get on board with something and start to promote it themselves, and it's not even the UFC having to promote it, it's the fighters themselves. They've done a whole bunch of promotion on it by calling guys out and whatever else to make it a reality. So that's my take on it. The other side of that is I have to agree, because I would love to see this fight. I think it'd be super exciting and a hell of a fight, because Max Holloway, the way the striking and everything is just like, it's just amazing to watch. I just love it. And Tony Ferguson, obviously, everyone knows who's seen him fight. The guy is just crazy and unconventional. And that in itself just becomes super exciting. So I'd love to see it. Now I have to disagree with the logic behind it as far as rankings and contenders. I would think something like if they had to do an interim, probably like a Tony Ferguson and probably Dustin Poirier would make the most sense as far as logic and rankings. But everybody knows we're in the era of super fights, and again, the time-old adage. What makes the most money makes the most sense. So regardless of ranking and everything else, all this champs moving up and down in weight to challenge for legacy fights, multiple belts, that's how this comes into play. And this, I'll tell you this straight up, I'm no business expert or anything, but I would have to near guarantee you, as an outsider looking in, that this makes more money than like a Poirier Ferguson interim. And then of course whoever wins, obviously when Khabib comes back, that'd be the fight to make. So, you know, all in all, I'd love to see it. So hey, I have to hope that it comes true. It's a great rumor right now. I'm sure that Dana White and people at the UFC are being questioned about this essentially as we speak, with the build up to Fight Night in Phoenix. Hopefully we'll get some word on this in sooner than later, hopefully. Now, speaking of UFC Phoenix, let's go ahead and dive right into this, guys. So number one, now let's make this point. This card is, like I said, going to be on a Sunday, so it's actually not tonight as it normally would be. It is tomorrow. So hopefully most of the fans out there are going to be off work on Monday, because as we know, the events tend to run pretty late. But let's go ahead and just run through the card, guys. So this is the main card. I'm not going to go through every single fight on the undercard. That tends to drag on just a bit. But we'll go through right here with the main card, and let's see if I can make a few predictions. I've been known to be damn near perfect in my predictions. So we'll see. We'll see. At least I'll give my take on the fights. That part can be fun. So, starting it out at featherweight, Andre Touchy-Feely and Miles Fury Jury. Two gentlemen with some fun and exciting little nicknames, and two gentlemen who I think bring the heat. I'm a huge fan of back and forth bangers and striking matches, and I think that's what we got here. Now, does it have huge implications as far as contendership and fighting for the belt at this point for these gentlemen? Probably not really. And honestly, I don't even know if these guys are officially ranked. But they are both very exciting fighters, and they're both very good. Miles Jury, I can remember him. I think he was undefeated at the time. He was fighting at lightweight, and he was fighting my man, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Cowboy put the absolute heat on him, and I think gave him his first loss. That was an exciting fight. And since seeing that, I've been seeing this guy fight a little more. He's got an excellent kind of athletic, quick, nimble movement to it, kind of on point, accurate strikes and things like that. And Andre Fili is very well the same, honestly. He's got the quick, athletic motions and movement and everything, and great striking. So I think this one will be a pretty exciting back and forth. I can recall, I think Jury's most recent fight, it was against Chad Mendez in Mendez's return, and Mendez TKO'd him. That was an exciting fight as well. But I think this is going to be a good one. Having to make a prediction on it, I feel like Miles Jury would take it probably by decision. That would be my prediction. Unanimous decision for Miles Fury Jury. Let's move right along here to the next. This is at welterweight, Vicente Luque and Brian Barberena. So two guys, maybe I guess I'd say maybe a little lesser known as far as the welterweight division is concerned. Neither guy is ranked or anything like that. But that doesn't mean it's going to be a bad fight or not exciting at all. I think it will definitely be exciting and very well deserving of part of the main card. Two good strikers here. Definitely just looking for the finish. I think Barberena is going to come out, and my gut is telling me a second round TKO for Barberena. Let's see how true that holds. I know Barberena, his last fight was against a veteran guy, Jake Ellenberger, in Ellenberger's hometown, Lincoln, Nebraska, on the Gaethje versus Vic card. And unfortunately for Ellenberger in his final fight, Brian Barberena got the TKO, I think in the first round. Took him down, beat him up pretty good. And after which, Ellenberger left the gloves in the octagon and retired where it all started. So let's see what we got here. I'm excited for this. Next up, at featherweight, we've got our boy Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres, and the newcomer, another member of the Gracie family, so by default carrying plenty of hype on his own, Kron Gracie. So Alex Caceres, many would say his professional MMA record is not perfect, obviously. 14-11 on paper, and in numbering it sounds, kind of bad, near 50-50. But the thing about this guy is, a lot of those losses he's got are not slouch losses. I mean, he's fought guys like Chad Mendez, Uriah Faber. I think he's fought some big names at bantamweight as well. So, that's when the records can be a little deceiving. The guy is no slouch or anything like that. He's an excellent fighter, and obviously he's still in the UFC, so, they have some understanding of that as well. Now, Kron Gracie did a little shit-talking to that point, basically saying, hey, I'm coming in, I expected maybe a little bit bigger name and, all this kind of stuff. So obviously he's got that Gracie name attached, means a heck of a lot in the MMA world, and of course specifically in the UFC, going back to kind of where it all started with Royce Gracie and him just dominating with jiu-jitsu and all that good stuff in the early days. But let's see what happens, guys. I would have to predict that ultimately Kron Gracie will take this, just with the kind of default training regimen and academy that these guys are involved in as far as the Gracie family. They're basically surrounded by success and greatness in the MMA world, and definitely Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's kind of got a default background, if you will. A lot of the guys in that family that's what they grew up doing. You know, they're the first family of specifically jiu-jitsu, but a little wider MMA as a whole. So that would be my my prediction here, that Kron Gracie will take it. And we'll just say most reasonable, probably a submission finish, if I'm being honest. So next one here, we are going back down in weight to the women's strawweight division. Another lady here, as far as her record, 8-6, Courtney Cast Iron Casey. Probably a little bit misleading in her professional record as well. 8-6. She has had some tough split decision losses, man, and stuff like that just starts to pile up. You know, it makes your record on paper not so well reflect your skills and talent and different things like that. Facing off against Cynthia Calvillo, and this girl is really tough, man. This is a tough strawweight women's fighter, and making a prediction, if I had to say, I would guess that Cynthia would probably take it. It appears, I was going to mention as far as the weight cutting and everything for her. I think in her last fight, she struggled a little bit as far as cutting weight and everything, and I can't remember if the fight was canceled. I think it was very close to being canceled. But basically, I think she just ended up missing weight, and then the fight continued, and she actually won. So that would be my prediction here, guys. Cynthia Calvillo via maybe even another split decision loss for Casey, or potentially she takes it unanimous. But that would be my prediction. Cynthia Calvillo via decision, one way or the other. Now, moving right along, guys, these are some super exciting fights for our co-main in our main event. Co-main, a reschedule of this previously planned fight. James, the Texecutioner Vic, and Paul, the Irish Dragon Felder. So let's do a quick background on both these gentlemen. James Vic, so this guy at 155, this is a lightweight fight. This guy is over 6 feet tall, kind of a scrawny look, if you will, but the guy's reach for this division is absolutely tremendous. Over 6 feet. I think even nearing an 80-inch reach. I don't know it specifically, but I think it's around there. And the IQ of this guy to build that into his game is just tremendous. He's had a ton of success. I mean, I'm talking about, it's almost like your average lightweight throwing a jab or something, and that way this guy is throwing a knee. Basically, with his height and reach, he's just grabbing on the head and then boom, popping a knee up there, knocking guys out, and super exciting. I know he gets some shit talk and, you know, memed and everything on the internet for, like, when he was fighting Justin Gaethje in the main event, doing a lot of shit talking. So people make fun of him about, you're like a poor man's wannabe Conor McGregor. You know, you can't talk shit, all this, you know, goofy whatever nonsense. I agree, it's a little, you know, it's a little goofy, but hey, whatever way you can promote your fight, man, I'm down with that. He's a hell of a fighter, though, I think, regardless of all the shit talking and goofy nonsense. He's a hell of a fighter, and especially in the lightweight division, it's just so crazy to see a guy over 6 feet tall, you know, even weigh 155 pounds ever. So it's super exciting. And now Paul Felder, hey, the guy is super, super tough. I love to see the guy fight. He's awesome. In his most recent fight, he actually was just looking to get an opponent. This was actually the cancellation of these gentlemen's first scheduled fight, with things getting moved around. Paul Felder basically was campaigning for a fight. He said, look, I got to keep a fight. I'm trying to fight. I've been training. Let's make it happen. So he got slotted up at a weight up at welterweight and actually fought Mike Perry. And if you guys haven't seen Paul Felder and Mike Perry, man, if you still got Fight Pass, go back and find it and check it out, because it was awesome. At the very least, check out the highlights. Now, it did go to a decision, but it felt like that whole time, all 5 minutes of all 3 rounds, these guys were just looking to take each other's heads off. And that's what I love about Paul Felder. He's got that super tough mentality to go with his fighting. and it translates to exactly how he fights. He's getting in there and brawling, taking huge shots, but surviving. I mean, there was one when he fought Mike Perry. Perry threw this huge left hook that just cracked right on the side of Felder's head. You know, didn't even seem to daze him or anything, but got him a huge gash inside of Felder's head from a hook. And it was crazy. Like, it just, boom, burst open just like that. A big old gash, just blood pouring everywhere. So, you know, all the more fun when you see guys get cut up and all kinds of blood and everything else. But I think it just plays a testament to the toughness of Paul Felder. So we'll see how that holds up against James Vick. Making a prediction, I would have to guess that James Vick will take the win. But Felder is a tough guy to stop. I don't think he's going to stop him. I don't think he's going to necessarily get a finish on the fight. I do think my prediction would be that James Vick will win by decision. So that is going to bring us to our main event, guys. Heavyweight clash of the titans, if you will. Big old heavy hitter Francis the Predator Ngannou coming back after his most recent win against Curtis Blades in their rematch. Technically, I guess it was via TKO, but it damn near looked like a knockout against the returning and very well known, big-time fan favorite at heavyweight, Cain Velasquez, or as some folks say, Velasquez, which bothers me because it sounds stupid and I don't think that's the way it's said, but I could be wrong. Anyway, we'll have to see if ring rust is really going to play a factor for Velasquez. Obviously, as you can see by his record, only 2 losses. Hell of a fighter. I think this one has got to end by a knockout. Now, who do I think would take it? Ooh, that is a really tough one. You know, honestly, Vegas favors Velasquez, even with his, multi-year layoff and everything. But I think this is going to be a hell of a fight, and I think it's going to be like a 1-round barn burner, and whoever connects first really heavy is going to take it. Now, let's backtrack that a little bit. So just kind of thinking about it here. Velasquez, big wrestling background, right? So there's a couple ways they could play this out. They can go in there and bang, and just whoever hits harder first will win. Kind of heavyweight tradition, if you will. Or, if Velasquez has done his research, he knows, unfortunately for Francis, that wrestling and takedowns and everything else is his big weakness, to go with his big strength of one-shot knockout punch power. So Velasquez could very well, about 30 seconds into the first round, go for the takedown, get it, and just run it from bell to bell with wrestling. That seems to be a good way to beat Francis Ngannou. Think back to UFC 220. Ngannou was challenging for the belt against Stipe Miocic. Stipe took him down all 5 rounds, and that was it. Won by an outstanding unanimous decision. So, hopefully for Francis, he's done his research and practiced up as far as takedown defense and fighting a wrestling match. So that's, I guess thinking back to it now, that's probably a little more reasonable as to what's going to happen. I think Velasquez is going to turn up that fight IQ, realize a guy's weakness, and play his strengths to it. I think Velasquez will look to make this a wrestling match, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So let me revert my thoughts just a little bit. I think Velasquez ultimately is going to take this, with a win in a wrestling match, and he could very well finish him on the ground. Don't necessarily think it'll go to decision. I think Ngannou, unfortunately, looked weak enough in a ground fight that if you've got a guy whose real strength and prowess is the wrestling part of MMA, that he could very well finish it on the ground, just taking him down and then beating him into a TKO or maybe even a knockout. I think that's what's going to happen. I will say Velasquez will take this due to his outstanding strength in wrestling and Ngannou's unfortunate weakness, if you will, in wrestling. But all that being said, absolutely looking forward to it and cannot wait. Now, I wish it was not on a Sunday because I am one of those who do have to work on Monday, but it happens. It might just be a long night. Now, we didn't go too deep into the undercard, but let's do that now. So, this is where I'm going to bring about my thoughts on the Dark Horse undercard fight. So, if we look here on the undercard, this is the prelims portion of the event. So this is going to be on ESPN. I've clipped out up here 3 of those fights. These all happen to be on the normal prelims, the early prelims. While there is some good stuff on there, I don't think that it's going to be anything major enough to say dark horse potential fight of the night as far as undercard is concerned. We have got 3 fights that are going to somewhat fit in this criteria in my mind. Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman and Nick Lentz at lightweight. At bantamweight, Benito Lopez and Manny Bermudez. And also at bantamweight, Jimmy Rivera and Aljamain Sterling in a top 10 contender fight. So, let's start at the top. Jimmy Rivera coming off a loss to Marlon Moraes. Unfortunately, it was about a 30-second head kick. Boom, got the TKO. Aljamain Sterling coming off, I think his last fight was that spectacular, what's the name of the submission? The Sulov stretch or something like that. Basically, he had kind of rolled over the guy and grabbed his legs. I'm probably describing it in a very poor way, but essentially the point of the submission is to hyperextend the knee to one side or the other and basically get the submission that way. And that's what he did. And I'm off the top of my head not recalling who that was against, but it was a night when we had that same submission twice in the same event. And surprisingly enough, it had only occurred once in the past in the UFC. We happened to see 2 on the same night. The other was our man, Zabit Magomed Sharipov. So, very exciting fight. Definitely got the potential. If I had to pick one, I don't think it would be that one, though. Our next one, and I say this one somewhat fitting that criteria because I just think it's going to be a banger. Both these guys actually undefeated. I think Bermudez has several submission wins to his name, if I'm not mistaken. And Benito Lopez actually came into the UFC. This is only his 2nd UFC fight, but he came in off of the Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. And how do you get a UFC contract via the Contender Series? You come in there on your fight, and you put on a heck of a show via just a good back-and-forth banger of a fight, or you put in work and you get an outstanding, spectacular finish. This guy, I don't remember exactly what happened in his Contender Series fight, but if his UFC debut plays into this at all, I feel like this one is definitely going to be a banger. Now, if I had to pick one, again, I don't think it would be this one. I think it would be our 3rd listed here, Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman and Nick Lentz. So let's think back. Nick Lentz. This guy's been in the UFC, feels like forever, I think since like 2009. The guy's debut was like UFC 103, I think. So many, many years ago at this point. Think back to him and Gray Maynard. This is what got me to picking this one. I was thinking about Nick Lentz and Gray Maynard at UFC 229. Ironically enough, I think that fight was actually on the freaking Fight Pass prelims of that event. But that was a banger, guys, and I think that's what we've got here. Scott Holtzman and Nick Lentz. That is my prediction, guys, for an undercard with potential for fight of the night, just on paper. But I think this is going to be the one, guys. I think this is going to be an all-out, back-and-forth banger of a fight, and I cannot wait to watch these guys go to war. That's what it's going to be. These guys will go to war, and somebody is just going to either knock someone's head off, or it's just going to be a brutal, straight-up back-and-forth brawl for 15 minutes. Now, you know me, just like many other fans, I'm very partial to the flash and the spectacularity of a big ol' one-punch knockout, but I'll also love a fight that goes to the hands of the judges when it's a back-and-forth, spent 15 minutes just beating up on each other, and it's all offense. Super exciting, and I think that's what we've got here. I just have a feeling on this one, guys, It may go to the hands of the judges, but at the end of that fight, the arena will be on its feet, just cheering loud as can be for these guys, because they're going to brawl back and forth, dirty boxing, everything else, and I just can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be a great fight. That is my undercard pick for potential fight of the night. Now, as we get into this event, there's one other thing I wanted to point out that maybe everyone hasn't seen yet, and I think is unfortunate. The weigh-ins, guys, the weigh-ins, of course, the fight being tomorrow, the weigh-ins were today. And unfortunately, we had 3 fighters, guys, 3 fighters for this event that missed weight. Now, some worse than others, granted, some by just a little bit, but you've always got to think about it, guys. When you got people missing weight, the bad part of it is, obviously, that can just, that can tear a card apart. Imagine you've got a pay-per-view that many, many people have paid for, and a guy in the main event misses weight, and it was such a struggle to cut the weight. Ultimately he missed weight because he was struggling so bad with the weight cut. He becomes, unable to compete. The fight falls apart, the day before, and it's a dream crusher for everybody who's waiting to see that. So to this point, I wanted to make mention of this. So we had 3 contenders in this event. Manny Bermudez, he freaking came in at 140, 4 pounds over the bantamweight limit of 136. So that's pretty bad. That's, as far as missing weight, 1 pound, 1.5 pounds is more common as far as missing weight. Weighing in at 140 for a bantamweight fight is bad. That's pretty bad. So he missed weight. Jessica Penne, fighting at strawweight, she came in at 118. So again, just a couple pounds, but pretty bad. Yeah, it's still pretty bad when you're talking about multiple people missing weight. And last, the third guy, actually, this guy missing weight is surprising. Renan Barão came in at 138 for a bantamweight fight. Now, I say that more surprising because this guy back in the day was, just a beast at bantamweight. There was talks of him being easily top 5 pound for pound fighter in, in the UFC. Man, it's just sad to see, oh, how the mighty have fallen. This guy, he is going to be fighting Luke Sanders, who isn't some kind of slouch or whatever. Obviously, he's in the UFC, but he's not the biggest name out there. And this guy is going back, was a former bantamweight champion. Held the belt, defended the belt, all that stuff, man. So it's just crazy to see over the years how things change, Former champion, now the guy is fighting on the early prelims. And I would say Fight Pass, but not even technically now. This one is on ESPN+. So it's crazy to see how things change over the years, guys. It is crazy. But all that being said, guys, we are starting to get near the end here of this episode, but I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. What did you think of the predictions? What do you think of the events? Are you checking out Bellator 216 tonight? Did you catch 215 last night? Did you see the main event? Would you agree, the low blow was accidental, all that kind of stuff? You think a no contest was the way to go? Or do you think, hey, you made a mistake, but technically you still broke the rules, so that's a DQ, that's a loss for you. What do you think, guys? Let us know in the comments what you thought. Love to hear your input on anything else related to MMA. And hit us, go check out the blog, hammerfistmma.com. You can hit us up on there. You can leave comments on the posts as well. And right down here, guys, the Twitter handle. You can always hit me up on Twitter. I like to go on there a lot of time. It's just easy. I just browse through. I'm always looking for new stuff being called out, new fights being announced, guys going back and forth, calling each other out, all that kind of fun stuff. I like to retweet big news and everything else. And I'm on there all the time just retweeting. I don't put a ton of original stuff on Twitter, but I have started to hear from some people hitting me up and saying, see what do I think, and let me know what they think about fights. And I just love it. Like I said, man, this is all about the podcast and everything is all about the for the fans fun part of MMA as a whole, not all the technicalities about this guy's a great fighter because of his specific specific talent and skill set and blah blah blah. I'm not a practitioner of MMA, but I'm just a fan. I just love to watch it, man, and that's what it's all about. So when people hit me up on Twitter and say, what do I think about fights? So I think it's going to be fun and exciting, and I'll say, yeah, I like this and this, and oh man, I'd love to see this, and they say, oh, I hadn't thought about that. That's right, man, I'd love to see that too. That's awesome. So that's what I love about it, guys. That's the big part of it. It's fun for me, the back and forth and discussion and just getting the community together, kind of meet some new people, online or whatever, if you will, that we can talk about it and just have a ton of fun with it and speculate on things. It's just, I love it. It's just so much fun. So, to that point, one other thing, UFC, I'm calling you out, boys. UFC, the matchmakers, Dana White, Sean Shelby, whoever. This is my inquiry and my request to you in that regard. We have got your boy, Eric Anders, looking for a fight at UFC Nashville on March 23rd. He himself, myself, a ton of other people on Twitter, hardcore fans, they want to see this guy fight in Nashville. He's a former Alabama national championship football player, and he is born and bred from the South, as they say, so we want to see him come home. We want to see a hometown guy on that Nashville card. So please, please get your boy, Eric Anders, on that damn UFC Nashville card. Please, let's make it happen. Thank you. I will go to that event. Already got my tickets. Me and my dad going. This is going to be my first live in-person UFC event after multiple years as a fan. And I am so stoked to go, and we'll just put this thing over the top for me. If you can get Eric Anders on that card, we would love to see that shit. So let's go. He'll fight anybody. Take it from the horse's mouth. Eric Anders, your boy himself. UFC, give me a fight at 185. Give me a fight at 205. I don't care who the opponent is. I'll fight anybody. My input, you want to beef this card up, make this shit awesome, get your boy, Eric Anders, get him back at 205, and face him off with a glass chin, British Jimmy Manuwa. Let's see it. I need to see my man, your boy, Eric Anders, get back in there and get an amazing, spectacular flash knockout that he needs and deserves, and the fans deserve, and everybody wants to see this shit. Get Eric Anders on that Nashville card against Jimmy Manuwa. We have got to see this, so let's go, guys. Spread the word on Twitter, at Eric Anders. Go hit him up, man. Spread the word, tag UFC, tag everybody. Let's make this happen, guys. Let me know what you think. You think it'd be fun? Oh my gosh, I think that'd be great. I'd love to see that. I like to see Eric Anders still at middleweight, but hey, 205 light heavyweight could definitely use some fresh blood. And I'm telling you, man, Eric Anders is the perfect guy for that. He's got an awesome mentality. Seems like a great guy. He's retweeted some of my stuff on Twitter from, in that regard, saying, hey, let's make this happen, calling out the UFC and everybody. And as a fighter, I love to see him fight too. It's super exciting. So I say that again. As of course, I'm a little biased. This is one I'm going to be going to, living, close enough to Nashville to make the drive. But let's make it happen, guys. We want to see this. So call it out on Twitter. Tag UFC and everybody else. Let's make this thing happen, guys. Let's get Eric Anders on that Nashville card. Please, let's do this. So, that being said, guys, that's going to be all for the third episode of the Hammerfist MMA Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Tyler. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the episode, please hit that like button, and please hit that subscribe button. We need to keep this thing growing. It's not about the big numbers, any kind of nonsense. I don't really care about all that, at least right now. What I do care about is getting the word out, getting people to check out my stuff and just give me some feedback. What did you like? What did you hate? What do you want to see different? Whatever. That's what I'm all about. So I'm just trying to build that viewer base a little bit and keep this thing moving. Check us out right here, hammerfistmma.com. Check out the blog. You can hit us up on there. You can let us know what you think equally there. or you can hit us up right here at Hammerfist_MMA on Twitter. Let me know what you think. I'll definitely try to get back to you, or you can leave it right down here in the comments of this video. So that being said, guys, again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I can't wait for the next one, man. Let's play this outro, guys. You have a good one, and thank you again.
Yeah, yeah.